A collection of mysterious fossils was recently discovered in the mountains of Death Valley National Park. These fossils appear to depict a group of creatures belonging to a species which has no known ancestors in Earth's tree of life. At first, the researchers at the corporation studying the various phenomena taking place in Death Valley, Lucicorp, believed it to be from an extinct family of prehistoric aquatic creatures. This would make sense, as the desert of Death Valley was underwater in the Paleozoic period, some tens of millions of years ago. Hence, many ocean fossils have been discovered in this region. On the suspicion that they had found something unique, Lucicorp sent a sample of these fossils to be carbon dated and further analyzed. The study into the nature of these remains would tell an unexpected story. The bones were arranged in a manner that didn't correspond to any known classification in the planet's biological history. It looked as if someone tried to recreate a vertebrate version of an octopus. The skeleton itself resembled a sea spider, but with a few more extra, more malicious-looking pieces. The creature had 8 long limbs, each made up of many small segments. The base of the animal looked like 8 human spines all sutured together at a center locus. Some of them had limbs that would split into 2 more further down the arm. These legs looked as if they could move in any orientation. At the top of the skeleton lies a bulb-shaped skull with a 4-pronged set of jaws holding multiple rows of razor-sharp teeth. At the corner of each lip was a forward-facing eye socket, further indicative of a predatory feeding pattern. Also notable about this skull, it had a much larger allocation for the brain than any other animal of its size at the time, suggesting a higher brain-to-body mass intelligence quotient. Strangely, even though this fossil was found in a region known for paleoaquatic life, it had many of the telltale signs of an animal that walked on land. Even stranger, it showed a bone structure capable of suspensory movement, like some species of primate. It didn't seem to have many useful ways of propelling itself underwater either, and the structures it did have looked more like taloned versions of apes' hand feet rather than fins. When the fossil's lab data came back, it revealed that these animals existed quite recently, as the carbon in their bones dated back only a few hundred years. Whatever these things were, they weren't ancient. Not only this, but results from other tests showed that this stone was in fact much more similar to stone found in a nearby cave system than that of the mountain. Despite the area in which the fossils were found and the weathered appearance of the remains, the overwhelming evidence pointed to the collection of skeletons coming from a modern creature possibly still alive within the Devil's Hole cave system. This cave system was already known to display several qualities that seemed to confound modern science, including shifting layout and geology, aberrations in the laws of physics and biology, and several strange, even anomalous creatures that make up an ecosystem straight out of H.P. Lovecraft's wet dreams. Lucicorp, fascinated at the prospect of a novel creature living only within the cave system, sent a team of 2 people into the cave in order to investigate this creature and try to capture a living specimen for exhibition display. 1 professional cave mapper, Matthew Brodson, and 1 doctorate revokee / self-proclaimed cryptozoologist, Maria James. They were given a dossier filled with all known dangers within the cavern, a standard issue spelunking kit, a week's worth of food rations, and 1 camera each. They were instructed to avoid anything that did not fit the description of the animal that the skeleton belonged to. The 2 entered the cave, and within 2 hours, only the cryptozoologist emerged, looking like she had been through intense trauma. Even though Maria had only been in the cave for a little over 100 minutes, she claimed that they had been in there for several days, and her physical state reflected this. Not only this, but she claimed that throughout her time in the cave, she and her team member were being stalked by an incredibly intelligent subterranean predator. The very same animal they were sent in to capture. One that not only used its intelligence to pursue them and successfully capture and consume the cave mapper, but also to torment Maria and let her escape, seemingly all for its own entertainment. Maria's recollection of the time is as follows. As we started making our way deeper into the cave, we noticed these weird little piss-bile yellow-colored spotlights, if you could call them that, would sometimes be pointed at our backs, only when we weren't looking. As we turned around, there was no source to the light. This one time I thought I saw where it came from just before it dimmed, but when I shined my flashlight at it, I saw what looked like any other big lumpy rock. I moved my flashlight away for just a second and heard a frantic scuttling, moved it back, and the rock was gone. I had read in the dossier that the cave could shift. I just chalked it up to that. We tried to ignore it, but we had the sense that we were being watched. These incidents would be relatively few and far between in the first few days, but it happened enough to seriously unsettle us. Brodson went ahead to check the next cavern for hazards, and he turned around to give me the signal for an all clear. I noticed his entire back was dimly lit. I told him this, and upon turning around, the spotlight focused on his neck. Something jumped from the darkness and pulled him inside the next room. I ran back to the last room, and this time, the cave actually did shift. In an instant, his screams were silenced and there was only a single passage forward in front of me. I walked forward for days on end. Every time I would turn around, that same disgusting yellow light would flash like a strobe light behind me. It was overwhelmingly bright, blinding me for split-second spans. In between the strobes, there was a background light it generated. I could see it. It was eating Brodson. It had already finished his head and was working its way down the shoulders. It made this horrible, quick chittering noise, like the call of a cicada mixed with psychopathic laughter. Each of its soulless, dead eyes locked with mine, and it looked like it was proud of itself, relishing my fear. I don't know why it didn't just kill me. I never wanted to turn around, but I kept doing it. Each time it showed off how much it managed to work its way down what was left of Brodson. I collapsed from exhaustion a few times, and I would awaken to that horrible laugh inches from my face, waking me up in a panic, scrambling to my feet and sprinting forward with everything I had. This one time, I woke up to the tip of Brodson's severed finger that it had placed in my mouth. I shrieked and wove around to see he was completely gone. That thing had finished him. In between blinding flashes, I saw the creature's blood-stained lips laughing its mocking screech, and one of its limbs pointed at me, like it was telling me I was next. That sadistic fuck was toying with me. It was in the last of these terrifying wake-up calls that I managed to burst from the mouth of the cave. I thought I was going deeper, but I guess not. I don't know what that thing was, and I don't give a fuck. For all I care, we should just nuke that fucking cave. Nuke the fucking cave? That's just what Shoggoth says when she waxes her— It appears that the mysteries within the Devil's Hole cave system only deepen. A novel anomalous creature, unlike anything seen before, has been discovered in this cavern. First, in the forms of a couple spooky skeletons that Lucicorp thought were really old, except they turned out to be not that. Since these creatures were seemingly so alien in nature, it was almost impossible to determine what these things were before they voyaged into the cave. But I'm pretty sure Lucicorp knew they weren't friendly when they threw those two innocent people at it. When living, these creatures closely resemble octopi, except with many more bony bits, and four-pronged heads that can rotate to any orientation on their legs. Strangely enough, these animals share quite a lot with octopi biologically. For example, like the noble octopus, crawlers have 3 hearts, smell and taste mostly through sensory organs in their arms, and display incredible intelligence, even compared to humans. I mean, I saw a person eat a handful of sand yesterday, so humans are a low bar, but still pretty cool. They have short and long-term memory, express curiosity and exhibit play behaviors, and have also been observed tormenting prey items. I guess intelligence really has the wholesome and horrible as 2 sides of the same coin, huh? These creatures also display a highly advanced form of camouflage shared with octopi. They have chromatophores to change color with the rock texture and lighting so that they can sneak up on prey items like humans and cavern people. Not only this, but they also have organs on their skin called papillae, which are raised portions of the skin that the cave crawler can use to change the texture of its skin to match the sections of stone behind it. The combination of these two allows for almost indetectable camouflage, especially when hunting creatures that aren't used to the lighting conditions of the cave. You know, like you. This animal displays a unique method of limb regeneration. The cave mapper, while trying to save his own life, discovered this creature's Hydra effect after he sliced off the tip of one of its limbs with a pocket knife. 2 words you never want to hear in the same sentence: impromptu and circumcision. Footage of his body cam as he was being slowly eaten alive showed that this creature would regenerate 2 limbs in place of the one severed. This would explain the seemingly random amount of limbs displayed on some of the fossilized skeletons. Also notable is the cave crawler's incredible mastery of bioluminescence. With a bioluminescent organ in the back of its throat, it's capable of a multitude of impressive light tricks. For instance, it can use this to communicate with other crawlers, to disorient and track its prey, and even to make shadow puppets. Now do a dog. She's so talented. Yeah, it's a she. Stop asking to see it, you fucking pervs. These creatures are highly individualistic and only congregate for the purposes of sexy times and cannibalizing each other. Sometimes one will lead to the other, but I think that's just a weird kink thing for some of them rather than a mating ritual, because they don't do it across the board. Only the really pervy ones. Speaking of what they eat, these animals have been seen feeding on humans, the cavern people, and even some of the larger and more dangerous anomalous animals within the cave. If there is an apex predator for this ecosystem, thus far, the crawler has the top spot. Also because I really haven't seen anything else eat it. I'm going to eat it. This is what it would look like if I made it in Spore. I like Spore. That's all I can gauge about this critter and the cave it lives in with the information found thus far. So if you want me to come back and examine more of the strange happenings in and around the Devil's Hole in the Death Valley National Park, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with all notifications enabled, or I'll throw you in the cave! I want to thank Dead Rex for drawing this spooky monster. Shout out the Inner Circle. Love y'all.